What's really fascinating to me, especially if you go and look at the tapes from 1974 of Schaeffer lecturing at the Lausanne Congress, and you have Schaeffer, and then you also have Billy Graham.
Yes.
Both men are evangelists,
Yeah.
but they're completely different in their approach. One completely geared towards mass evangelism, I would say, in Billy Graham, yet Schaeffer completely geared at maybe addressing a broad cultural thinking, and then in terms of evangelism, maybe inspiring the individual aspects. So could you speak to that?
Yeah. If Billy Graham's an evangelist, is Francis Schaeffer an evangelist also? On the one hand, the designation evangelist fits many types of people and many modes of evangelism, right? But I think what you're getting at there is, okay, there is something more sophisticated going on. Schaeffer is much more willing to read the philosophers. Schaeffer is much more willing to engage the culture. Schaeffer is much more willing to listen to what the audience he's speaking to say, and even to some agenda. He's okay with them setting the questions. That may be what's very different about a Billy Graham, who in a much more traditional way opens the Bible and preaches. I don't think that subtracts from my point about Schaeffer being a sincere in his claim to be an evangelist. My sense is that Schaeffer was simply operating with a broader view of what the gospel is, what the evangel is. If you ask what's the question, what is the gospel? I would want to say, well, yeah, it's a message, right? It is an announcement that Jesus come, and he's lived for us, and he's died for us, and he's raised for us, and the kingdom will come. It is a message, but biblically it's much more, right? It's also a mode of life. I live a gospel life. There are implications that come when I believe that message and adopt it as my own. More than that, it's a means of restoration of all things being presented to Christ. And I think Schaeffer believed in a big, broad, deep, rich, robust gospel. I'm not saying that Billy Graham didn't, but that was not the focus of his ministry. Schaeffer deliberately leans into Christ as Lord over all. Schaeffer, I know for some this is disputed, and we're not going to die on this hill today, but Schaeffer was reformed. He had a robust view of God's sovereignty. He had a robust view of redemption being recreation. His creational theology informed Schaeffer so that evangelism was not just simply getting that soul to heaven. It had a lot to do with human flourishing. Had a lot to do with substantial healing in all the domains of life, right? So, was Schaeffer an evangelist? Yes. Is he like Billy Graham? In some ways, yes. He certainly could preach the message of salvation with clarity and articulateness. But was he the same kind of evangelist? Well, no, because Schaeffer often worked in these other spheres. He, I think, had a much larger canvas that he wanted to fill in and introduce men and women to. So I think that's the difference. Yes, more sophisticated, but I don't think that subtracts from the sincerity of him saying, I'm basically just an evangelist. I think I'm going to take the guy at his word.